This is respect and tolerance in a diverse community. So this is moral education, year 7 or grade 6. And this is unit 4 because we've done things in a strange order this year. Now, I had got a plan to do this so that we were using it specifically looking at people of determination as our idea of diversity. However, due to the current situation, I've had to change that slightly. So we are going back to my original plan and we are following through what is in the textbook. Now, I hope that the pictures that I put on here will be clear enough for you to be able to see. I will also post them on Google Classroom. So we're starting on lesson 1, which is tolerance and its relation to diversity. So if you look at the PowerPoint, can you please put a title in your books of how can we best recognise, respect and understand cultural diversity, which is the first slide. Once you have written that, I would like you to copy out the whole unit questions. Leave a gap between each question because hopefully at the end of this unit you will be able to answer these questions. So this is just to put them in your books now. If at certain points you think, oh, I can answer that, maybe you think you can answer a few now, then you can be adding to those. But in our last lesson of this unit, I will ask you to go back and have a look at these questions and actually try to answer them from an informed standpoint. Okay, next slide is learning outcomes. Sorry, meant to say you might need to pause me every so often on here, do the task and then come back to listen to me waffling on. So, quick look at the learning outcomes. That's generally across the whole unit, and then we are on to the tasks. So we are going to start lesson 1 by doing a bingo interest sheet. Now, obviously, again, this is difficult because we're not all together. And if we were in the classroom, you would be wandering around asking each other these questions. However, I know that my year 7 group, 7A, have a WhatsApp group between them. So on the WhatsApp group, you could talk to each other, you could message each other, or of course, we could be doing Google Meet and you could just be very quickly asking if you can find these things out. If you've got members of your family who you think could answer these questions as well and can do some of these things, then you can also include them. Okay, when you've finished your bingo sheet, you are going to go on to complete tasks 2, 3, 4 and 5 from out of the textbook. Okay, I'm swapping backwards and forwards between everything as I'm speaking to you. All right, so we've done the first task because we've done it as bingo. All right, the second task is to read a text and then to answer some questions on it. Now, it does say to complete the table as a group. Obviously, again, that's quite difficult to do because we are not all together. So have a go at answering this. Again, if you've got a WhatsApp group, if you're doing Google Meet, you could have a look and you could actually work on that together. Then on to task 3, which is about the Declaration of Human Rights. Just need to read through it and answer the questions. Nothing too complicated there. The answers are there. Number 4 is asking you to have a little think about a person's culture. And to think about this metaphor of an iceberg. This will come up again in later years. All right, then on to task 5. Task 5 asks you to draw a symbol to represent the UAE. Now, I have then asked you to show this symbol to other people in the class so that they can write a what went well and even better if. Okay, so again, if you want to WhatsApp a friend and show them your symbol when you finished it, you can do that. If you want to put it up onto Google Classroom for people to write a what went well, even better if, you can do that. If we've got a Google Meet, you could just hold it up to the camera so that we can see it and people can comment on it. All right, you will notice there is a homework and it says bring a potato to our next lesson. I would really love that we were able to do this, but obviously we're not going to see each other, so that makes it quite difficult to do this. You will see in the next lesson that the idea behind it is a task where you're trying to recognise the differences. When you see the task in the next lesson, maybe you can try it with your family. Okay, so now we're on to lesson 2. First part is a little video for you to watch. It's actually quite harrowing. It's about a young girl who managed to escape from North Korea. But the idea is to ask her some questions. Okay, now bear in mind that she can only answer the questions yes or no. Right, so have a little think about some questions you would like to ask her. I can't guarantee you that we can find the answer, but it's actually about how do we find out more about other people's culture rather than just, not trying to delve deeper into what they are doing. All right, then it goes on to ask you to look at tasks 2 and 3. Okay, task 2 is a story about boots, so you just need to read it, and then there are a set of questions underneath that you have to have a go at answering. Task 3, again, is reading about diversities in schools of the UAE, and then there is a question to answer. If you look at task 4, it then talks about examining your potato carefully. Does it have any special features? And then the idea is you've got to try and identify your own potato. Now you might want to do this with your family if you could possibly do this. It doesn't have to be a potato, it could be limes, it could be lemons, it could be apples, it could be stones, it could be all sorts of things, okay? But it's about being observant rather than anything else that's going on there, and that we have to make ourselves more aware if we're going to understand the differences that there are between people and potatoes. All right, it then asks you to complete task 5, which asks you about your skills and qualities. I have put on there to ask other people if you're not sure. It's quite a British thing that we're not very good at recognising our tasks and qualities and trumpeting about the things that we can do. So that's why I'm suggesting you could ask other people if that will help. On to lesson 3. Lesson 3 is is just for you to look at your own beliefs and attitudes. So this is why I've just said work through tasks 1 to 5 on here, because this is about your own personal views. So there is a jigsaw for you to say what you think could be in there. Hopefully we'll get lots of different answers. Then there is a story about somebody's experience at school, and there are some questions for you to answer. Be interesting to see what you regard as a typical student. Then on to task 3, which is to do with diversity in the workplace. So you can answer, there's one question to go with that. And then there is a question about the enriched culture of Dubai and some questions to go with it. And then question 5 says, think about what makes you different or unique from other people in your class. And it asks you just to write down 2 sentences about what you're most proud of on a sticky label and place it with a photograph of yourself for display in the classroom. Now, obviously, sadly, we're not going to be able to do that, but you can still write 2 sentences about yourself in your book. Now, you will notice on the PowerPoint that I've then put a homework of bring in a picture of you for our display, and some traditional food from home for us to try next lesson. Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do the display, and even more unfortunately, we're not going to be able to try some food. Yes, I was planning on us eating some things in class and trying out different foods. However, I thought as a little challenge, what you could do is maybe try to do some cooking that is food from a different culture to your own. So you actually have a go at trying to make something. Let's say I did this with some friends before, and one of my Indian friends made some Chinese food. She found it really weird that she didn't have to put all of the spices into it that she would normally put into her food. So if you want to give yourself a little challenge, and this would be really great because you could post about it for Instagram or for our the EC Facebook page. You could maybe try making some food from another culture and then trying it yourself and trying it out on your family. On to lesson 4. For lesson 4, you will see that it is talking about us trying out the food. So that's a little bit disappointing that we're not going to be able to do that. However, this is about recognizing prejudice in society, and some people will say with food, oh, I can't eat that, it's too spicy, it's too this, that, or the other, right? Whereas we should actually try things out. Okay, so you've been asked to do tasks 1 to 3. Okay, number 1 is a picture with a little dialogue and a question for you to answer. Number 2 is a story about prejudice, and then there are some questions with the green goldfish to answer again. And then we are on to task 3, which is another story about prejudice. And it asks you to answer those questions. Okay, task 4 is a walking debate. Now, obviously, that's going to be really difficult for us to do, so we will leave that one for now. And then we are on to task 5, which is asking you to think about making a list of cultures. Okay, and it asks you to list your favourite ones. I don't want you to do that. I would like you to list 5 cultures that you would like to know more about, right? This is important because this is going to be your end of unit assessment ultimately, depending on the culture that you finally pick. All right, so I've then put on the next task a homework. Okay, now again, I know you've been told that homework is optional. And so therefore we will actually do this in class, but what I need you to do is maybe do some prep for this. So I want you to select one culture from your list and you're going to make a display about it. Okay, now it could be a poster, a shoebox display, a cake representing the culture. You can be creative. Now, obviously, again, that was, you might notice a little eating theme running through everything that I'm suggesting to you. That's not possible to do. So what I would really like you to do is to do the shoebox display. I've put some pictures of shoebox displays underneath. I found one that was of somebody's bedroom. I thought that was actually really nice as a sort of culture, that it might be really fun for you to think, okay, what would the culture of somebody, what would the bedroom of somebody your age from another culture look like? How would it be different? That might be quite interesting to do. Then I have one with a dinosaur on it and a volcano. Just thought it was cute. Just thought it was quite good the way they'd used pipe cleaners and like Play-Doh and things to make things on there. So that was really more just to show you how to be creative. And then the third one is penguins in Antarctica. Okay, now again, that could be a culture that you're looking at, but I'd really rather that you actually looked at some people we make something that is about other cultures to do with people rather than animals. All right, so we are on to lesson 5, okay? This is the final unit, and this is the whole school approach to cultural diversity. Now, obviously, this is quite difficult for us to do as a whole school at the moment. What I want you to do then is to, I'm looking at the tasks as I'm speaking to you. Okay, I've asked you to complete tasks 1 and 2. We haven't got an umbrella, but you could draw one and you could put things on there. Okay, then the second one is to make a questionnaire as a class. All right, now what I would suggest we do here is we do Survey Monkey, and we work together to put this together. Now again, if you as a group have got a WhatsApp group, you could suggest questions that you want to add in there. You could ask your parents if there are things that they think should be added in there, and then one of you needs to make the survey, and then actually we can try it on other people across the whole school. Okay. Then task 3 goes on to ask you to make a charter. Sorry, I'm just moving through to find it as we go. Right, this you may need to wait until you've got some results from your survey as well to go with this. But it's this idea of we're a school where we do have a lot of diversity, and diversity is embraced. Okay, and there is this idea that you shouldn't feel excluded or unappreciated, and hopefully we experience that every day. All right, but we do need to understand tolerance of difference. So what I want you to do is to come up with a charter that you think makes our school tolerant. Okay, and you can just discuss this amongst yourselves. You could come up with some ideas that you're going to put down, but you all have to agree on what's going in there. So there might be certain things that some people don't want included. You can't put those in, right? It can only be what you all agree on. Now, I really like this sentence here, which says, in our school, we make a commitment to. All right, that's the most important statement. What do you, as a group, all agree is the most important thing that your school is going to make a commitment to? All right, then we go on to Article 4. Hold on. Yes, which you just need to complete. Then I have asked you to go back to the whole unit questions from lesson 1 that you wrote down, and now have a go at answering them. Okay, now you should be answering them from an informed standpoint from what we have learnt in class so far. Then it asks to see your projects. Okay, this is our final assessment. Okay, ideally I would have had them set up around the room so that we could walk round and we could see them, and we could have invited in other classes, your parents, other teachers to have a look at them as well and make comments on them. Unfortunately, that option isn't available to us at this precise point in time, so again we're going to adapt. If you look at the final slide on this presentation on the PowerPoint, you will see that it has your assessment for this unit. Okay, I would like you to look at this. Okay, and what we will do is we will do this as Google Meet, and each of you can show your presentation and explain your shoebox display, and try to fulfill those criteria, and we will evaluate you using this criteria. Look carefully at what the criteria say. It says that you have to show cultural awareness and understanding in your display. You have to be creative. You should try to include the UAE Vision 2021 and the year of preparation. There should be real life situations or examples in your display. You must be completely respectful towards the culture. You should have shown culture, solidarity and prejudice fully in your display. That could be in your explanation. And there should be 5 key points of interest if you're going for a distinction star, which of course I would always be expecting you to do. So good luck with your presentations. I can't wait to see them because I know how creative you are, and I'm sure they are going to be absolutely phenomenal, so that we can get lots of distinction stars in our assessment, and we can show how respectful and tolerant we are as a class.